Hey everybody, it's Garrett. Um, Comparison is the thief of creativity. That is the discussion I want to have for this video. As always, this is not scripted, so if I lose my train of thought, I do apologize. Deal with it. Anyways, so, comparison is the thief of creativity. Anytime you see or hear your influences creating a new piece of work, whether that be music, whether that be a piece of literature, a book, a film, there is a tendency to look at those things that are being made and seeing how great they are and how absolutely dog shit we are as creatives from the outside in. Maybe, I don't know. But the worst thing you can do for your creativity is to compare it to others. And in fact, one of the better ways to grow creatively is to cast off the chains of comparison and give way more to repetition and, continuous movement in some type of direction, depending on what you're practicing and what you want to do. Now, if your main overarching goal with creativity is just to mimic and to copy and to just, cover something, do something that has already been done, then fair enough. That's something that you want to do. You look up to those people, in the instance of like music, you play a piece of music that's already been written and you cover it, you get it very well, great. But if you want to move into the more creative space where you're the creator of, like I said, a creative piece, then comparing yourself to that creator who may have influenced you isn't really going to be the best idea moving forward for your path or your journey as a creative type. And I guess just as an example, um, I'm really big into Star Wars. And if I were to do a space opera type book series or film series, if I ever can or ever get around to it, it might be the case that I look to Star Wars for some inspiration, for some influence, or it might just naturally work its way into the work that I am working on. It really just depends on the context of what I'm making and what I'm working on making. But that's the thing. I don't want to compare myself to the work that's already been made. What I want to do is, or not necessarily want to do, but what's going to happen more gradually is that I'm going to be influenced by that thing that's already been done. And obviously, the thing that's already been done is always going to be better in my mind because, to me, the creative process for me is a process of continuous self-reflection and self-improvement. So it's just an endless cycle, It just goes on and 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 on. Okay, anyways, sorry. But point being that you can take influence, you can take inspiration, but just to completely compare your work to something else and go, mine is trash, yours is trash, is not healthy. It's not healthy to have that mindset as a creative because it's just going to stifle you by causing you to judge your own work too harshly. Whereas if you spend that time building what you want to do and maybe you post like a piece of writing every single day or every single week, it's going to build up and build on itself over time. It's not a straight line, but it's something more like this. Maybe circle back around. Who knows? Point being, comparing yourself isn't really going to get you very far when you're comparing yourself to the works that have already been made and put out into the world that have already had time to gain some fertile ground and grow as appreciated pieces of, you know, of creativity and creation, like art, music, and writing. Again, I'm kind of cross-referencing between a lot of different things. I think this applies pretty universally to creative fields. And then the other thing as well, though, is this. A lot of the time we'll resort to discussing the same, like, creatives that we roll back around to. You know, in writing spheres, in science fiction, it's Frank Herbert, it's Isaac Asimov, it's Robert Heinlein. In music spheres or in guitar spheres in particular, it could be Slash, it could be Marty Friedman, it could be all sorts of different people. And beneath, like, there are the individuals who are just masters of their class and just happen to get along at like the right time and place for things for their lives to really grow and take off in a very much sort of upward trajectory in terms of like influence for how their creative works play out, whatever. But there's also the people, like, not necessarily beneath them, but the people who were alongside them throughout that as well. Particularly in science fiction, the science fiction magazines have probably had hundreds, possibly even thousands of writers over the course of like a century. A lot of the pulp magazines, that continuous works are coming out from all these authors. Some of them have not stuck around. They haven't gained that, like, seminal influence, whatever. Some of them have and have continued to endure. Obviously, the authors who are more prolific and are also more, more, I guess, attuned to the taste of an audience, however naturally that can be, might get more traction. And, that's perfectly valid to have that, but it's also just as valid that the other authors who are forgotten and the other writers who are forgotten aren't any less than the authors that are more well known, or the people that are more well known in that sphere. And it's important to keep that in mind to, expand your horizons, find those different artists, find those different musicians, find those different writers that you can read through and understand, so you know that there's more than just, a couple ways or a handful of ways of doing something creatively. Like, there's more than just the absolute, there's more than like a cartoonish way of drawing. There's more than a realistic way of drawing. Whatever it happens to be is to try to find those things that, you just want to explore, possibly be inspired by. Or just be inspired by yourself and influenced by yourself. That works too. Comparison is the thief of creativity. Absolute peace sign up here. Boom.